Okay, welcome to another screencast from Teach Me to Code. This is Eric Berry. This time I'm actually going to try and wrap up our Flitter application. So let's start. We're going to first off do a CSS overhaul. So if you look right here, the site itself is very well put together, rounded edges, very clean. What I'd like to do is first I have the latest checkout of the application. So if I type mate, I open up the application in TextMate, and let's do a script server so we can start it up. So actually I already had it started, so here we go. I'm logged in already, and just so we're logged in. So once you log in, you'll see basically where we left off, where we have our thing here. We can say, okay, now working on more, hit update, and now that's our latest one. There we go. And as you can see, the last time I worked on this was 20 days ago, so it's about time we wrap this sucker up. Okay, so let's go ahead and start playing with our CSS. Let's see what we have so far. In our views, we're using Ryan Bates' default layout, which is great. However, I would like to change our container here. If you see, we have just this black border and a blue background. So let's open up our application.css, and you'll see here's where we have our information. So just so we can do this, why don't we take this background here. I'm going to save that background into our application. Okay, so I just saved this right here, and I'm going to go in here and let's take the background color and match it to whatever the bottom is here. So like I showed last time, I have my color schemer studio, and I'm going to use that to grab the very bottom pixel there, and here we have our background color. So there's our background color. Now we want to add an image, and we're going to say images, and it's our BG clouds. And then what we can do is we can say, okay, well, align to top, then middle, and repeat X. I mean, it's a huge image, 2247 pixels. I don't think it's going to go beyond that, but if it does, we're covered. So something happened here. Okay, so we modified our body tag here, our body CSS style, to have this background color, and we set the image, and we set the background to repeat top left and repeat X. So here we go. We have our background, as you can see, looks pretty dang good. So we'll make it a little bigger there. All right. Now notice right here, this is another thing that we don't like. I make it larger, and then there becomes a larger white space over here. And if I make it smaller, you see that it doesn't cap. So we actually need to set the width of the container. So let's go over to our Flitter application, and if I hold Command-Shift-4, I get my screenshot capture tool, and I can use that to basically get dimensions. So I do that, Command-Shift-4, and to escape out I just hit escape, but we see it's 764 pixels wide. So here we have our width at 75%. We don't want that. Let's do 765 pixels, and here with our margin as the width of auto, we actually auto center it. So there we go, we have that. We have our padding set. Now our border we don't want, but our margin top we do. So let's go ahead and refresh this. So now we're always going to have this permanent width, as you can see. Now I don't know if I want it that wide, so actually why don't we look at this and figure out what that is. So that's 200 width, and if we come over here we want to go 200 about right there. So our width that we want is actually going to be roughly 785. Actually, did I get that right? 700. Oh, I did. Let's say 765, but because we have our padding, we need to take that into consideration now. The second number here is our width padding, so we actually need to remove 40 from each side. So we need to remove 80, so we're going to do 685 for our width. And now you can see it, but it's a little small, so let's go 695. And there we are. One other thing I want to do is I want to add a margin on the bottom. So I'm going to say 25px and auto. So that will add a little margin on the bottom that we can breathe with. And now we have our right side, and we're looking good. Alright, the next thing we want to do is round off those corners. So as you can see with Twitter, they have nice rounded corners. We want to do the same thing, but we can do that with CSS 3. So if we go in and look at, and I was here the other day, I saw all these examples of CSS 3, and this, it might be here. Yeah, it was right here, css3.info. And if you go to preview, the preview tab, you can actually see border radius. And they give you examples of how to do this. So I'm going to take their example right here, and you see we only actually need two things to make it work, two CSS styles here. So we have our radius of 5 pixels and our border of 5 pixels. So I'm going to take that off, and let's go ahead and refresh this, and voila, there we have it, rounded corners. Looks great. All right, well, we're doing pretty good here. Now we want to get over and fill this side of the area. So if we go back to our container, you see we don't currently have, basically what I'm getting at is I need to add another div tag over here. So we're going to say we're going to add this main div, which is going to contain our main contents, and then we're going to add a side div, which will contain our side contents. Our main div we want to be roughly looks like about 530, 540 pixels. So I'm going to call it 540 pixels. If we go back to our CSS, we're going to add a main, and we'll call it width 540 pixels, and we want it to float left, and then we want our side, and our width will be, and you got to remember the padding as well on the side, so it's actually going to be right around let's try 160 pixels, and alright, 160 pixels, and we're going to we're going to float that one to the right. And what I like to do when I'm placing these and setting them up is I like to add a border to them so that I can see what I'm working with. So if I go back to here and I hit refresh, you'll notice that, it's probably, I need to add a clear at the end there. Let's see here. So if I hit lorem, it'll fill that with content, and I'm going to do a clear div here so that it will clear it out. So you see right there we're having some issues already with our padding. So instead of modifying the width, I'm actually going to adjust our container padding here, and I'm going to change the padding from 40 pixels to 30. No, that didn't do much. Let's see here. Yeah, we're going to change it we're going to change it, actually, let's change it to 20 and make the width 715. There we go, that looks a lot better. So by doing that, I took out some of the padding on this side and on this side, but I made the width a little bit longer, which compensated for it, and now you can see we're doing good. So, okay, now we're back, and let's remove our borders from here, and now we have some room to work with. Okay, so over here we want to add a couple of things. So first thing we want to add is our own little icon and our name. So let us go in, and on the right side, instead of having the content right there, I would prefer having it be in a partial. It's just cleaner and easier to manage. So let's add a partial, and let's call it, you know what, I'm going to create a folder called includes, and in there I'm going to have side contents. And so what we do over here is create a new folder called includes, and then inside there we're going to create a partial called side contents, and do that. Come back over here and let's delete that line and refresh here. There we go. So we have our side contents partial. Now within the side contents, this can access the instance variables that we're passing down already, so we don't need to pass anything specifically to that. However, it is best practice in my view, so instead I'm going to also add a locals parameter here. I'm going to say what were we passing down? So we're passing down flits, current user. Actually, we don't need to, because the current user is a globally accessible, so let's not do that. So let's go to our side contents, and we're going to just to show that this works, and current user dot full name. All right. Oh, full name doesn't exist. I can't remember if it was full name, name, first name. Maybe we just did name. Nope, name doesn't exist. So let's see if we have first name. No, first name doesn't exist. Well, why don't we just, I'm like a guy that can't ask for directions. I'm going to have to go and look at my stuff and see what we have. So we don't have a name. All right, so no name, that's fine. We need username. That's fine. That's great. Okay, so refresh. There we go. We have our username. And right before that, I think we've covered this before on showing the actual images. And to do that, you see right here we have our Gravatar image. We're going to grab that again. And right here, we're going to say current user instead of flit.user. And there we go. We have our icon. But we want that thing a little bit smaller, so if let's see, if we bring up our Gravatar plugin, maybe it was a gem. Was it a gem? If it was a gem, let me show you a little secret that we have here. There is a gem that you can install called bdoc. And bdoc allows you to view all of the documentations for all of your installed gems. So if I run bdoc, it actually opens up a browser and gives me this, to where I can go through and look at all of the different gems I have installed and view the documentation. So why don't we find our Gravatar? I think it was Gravtastic. And here we go. We have our documentation, and let's see here. Not the best. Gravatar URL. That's what we want, and we have our options. So URL params for hash. So we actually pass the options directly through to Gravatar, and I don't know what options they are looking for. So let's see here. I think it might be size. So size equals 30. Let's try that. Now I'm just shooting from the hip. I don't know if that'll work or not. Hey, it worked. Awesome. There we go. So we pass up size, 30 pixels. I don't know what the Twitter size is, but that looks like about 30 pixels. So yeah, it's 30 pixels. So there we go. And if we go back to our Twitter, you see that it has the name, and right below that it has how many tweets. So no problem. All right. So to do this, we have our image, and let's wrap this in a container. So equals my info container, and then we're going to have class equals and the reason I'm adding another div here is because this is actually going to float to the left. So let's see, class equals contents, and we're going to have username, and then after that we're going to have number of tweets, or flits, I mean, user dot flits dot length, and it says flits. So let's do this. Let's pluralize. And pluralize is a simple helper method for Rails that lets you put in a word and the number so that it will pluralize it for you. So if I do that, that should work. Sometimes I get it backwards. Let's see, current user dot username, current user dot current user for action view base. So let's see where we're going wrong here. So it's on line 5. Can't do, let's see here. Oh, one too many R's. That's why. There we go. Cavnab 8 flits. So now we get into our CSS. Let's go back here. We have our container, and I don't really think we need anything in that container, but what we do want to do is have the image float left and have the margin, actually let's just have it float left, and then we also want to have our contents div float left, and our margin, I don't know if we need a margin either. Let's see. No, let's do padding left, 15 pixels maybe. That might be too much. Yeah, that's way too much. Let's do 5. And then of course afterwards, every time we use any floats, we want to clear them out by doing by adding a clear div, a clear out class. So here we go, we have that, and now we just need to match some style here. So let's view our style information, click on that, and we have me name. Inside me name, font size is 1.2 em. The font family is Helvetica. So I'm going to copy a couple of things here. So we have our contents, font family. I'll do the size myself. Font weight is bold, and the color I noticed was a little different. So let's use our color capture tool and just grab that color right there. 333. Perfect. Alright, so we're going to say color is 333, and it looks like they do have a hover color, but I'm not going to worry about that. So there we go. Cavnab works, and oops, let's turn off our style thing here. And then right below, looks like the same thing, just a little bit, maybe a tiny bit smaller. And so let's set our font size here to 13 pixels. And then my info container, contents, small, and let's do font size 12. And we're going to set our font weight to normal. So just add a little span around that next one there, and where are we here? Or side contents. So add a little span around this one, and get the class of small. So there we go, looking good. And if we want, we can make it align a little better. As you can see, we're not aligning super well. To do that, I believe I just need to set the line height on this one to 14 maybe. Yep, see it kind of snuggled up there. We're looking good. Alright, so now we have that. Now we want to show how many followers and how many people we're following. And this is going to be very simple. So we're going to call this the following followers container, and we have two. We're not going to worry about listed because that's a really new feature. So right now we're just going to worry about following and followers, and instead of having them horizontal like this, I'm going to make them, or vertical like that, I'm going to make them horizontal. So we're going to say current user dot friends dot count, and that will actually count all the friends that the current user has, and that means that those are the people that we are following. So and I want to pluralize this, so actually I don't need to. So if we have that and we refresh, there we go, we're following one. And instead of having it that way, I'm going to do this to where we have it say following and we're going to call it member. So we're following X number of members, so following one member. And the next one we're going to have is actually I'm going to wrap, well, yeah, I'll leave that for now. And for followers, we're going to have, I see why they had the number first. That makes sense. So we're going to have one following. Yeah, because that didn't make sense the way it would look with the number on one side and not on the other. So if that didn't make sense, don't worry about it. You don't need to know. All right, current user dot. How do we do this? Let's see. We want to find out how many people we're friends of. Let's go to our user model and see if we have anything in there that talks about it, or that will allow that. So we have friendships and we have friends. So maybe what we want to do is add a new, let's go ahead and add a new named scope and call it, we're going to call it friends of, and our conditions on this will be actually I don't think that belongs here. We have many friendships. Let's take a look at the friendships, and we see we have friend, and then okay, friendships has user and friend. So you know what, I'm going to just do it. Instead of overthinking this, I'm going to just create a little method here called friends of, and what it will do is it's going to do a search for user. Actually, it's going to do a search for friendship. It's going to find all the friends that have friend ID of myself, and what that will do, all those friendships will return those are just going to return friendship objects, but we want is friend objects. So friendship dot find all, and then why don't we go ahead and map this, and we're going to say after we map that, we're going to do f dot user, maybe. Let's see. Friendship belongs to user. I believe that will actually return us an array of users who are our friends. So why don't we give that a shot? In fact, why don't we test that in our console? So lessons, Flitter, console. Okay. And we're going to say user.first, u.friends, friends of. So here it did return multiple objects, and let's see how many. Looks like 2. So of those 2, we are friends of this person. And so the user itself is Peyton Killback, and Peyton Killback is a friend of, let's see, a friend of Jermaine Bogasic and myself. So that actually does look right. And I'm not going to worry about caching on this one right now. We're going to just say that that is what works. So we have friends of. Now we can go back here and say friends of dot count followers. Okay, so if we refresh, there we go. We have 1 follower and 1 following. But because we have that as something that we probably want to pluralize, so I'm going to do this instead. Pluralize that. And now it should just say follower. So we have 1 follower and 1 following. Let's make this look a little better. Let's try wrapping around a h4 tag and see how that works. And let's wrap that one as well. Much better. Now we just need to change our padding. So to do that, I'm going to go down here and add that. Add padding specifically to the h4 tags within this container. And so we're going to set margin to 2 pixels on top and bottom and 0 on left and right. And there we go. And then the container itself, I'd like to add a margin on the top of 15 pixels. Okay, so there we go. We have 1 follower and 1 following. So we want to make the following clickable. So we have our following list, and we want to actually be able to link that. So let's go link to, and you see right here we have following outside of our link tag. So let's go ahead and change that, put it right inside, and that's how you do it. So now if I hit refresh, you'll see that we are following 1. Now I do want the same CSS style over here as I have right here. So to do that, I'm going to go back up and find out where I set that style. So, and right here we have a color, and that's blue. And so we must be setting the A color in here somewhere. Here we go, right here. So let's go ahead and come up to our main thing, change that. And there we go. We actually globally changed all of our links to be that color. So we have one follower, or one following and one follower. So we're not going to worry about the following, but right below here I want to add a little list of people who follow. So I think, let's see if I can find an example of that. Here we go. So we have following, and let's go ahead and create this. So this looks like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 by 6. But right now I'm not going to worry about doing a view all. I'm just going to show them all. And instead of having it work to where we have a table, there's no need to do it that way. Let's have it so that it will just, everything floats to the left. So we're going to call this thing the thumbnail container. And so here we want to have we want to iterate over all of our followers, and we want to show their icon and a link to their site, to their thing. So here I do current user.friendsof.each do, and we're going to call it friend, and I'm going to link to, and now we have our gravatar image. So we have friend.gravatar URL, pass in the size of 30, and then right here we're going to pass in the route, which is user flits, and then pass in the username. So user flits path, and then maybe it works with just the user itself. If not, I can just do friend.username, and I believe that will work. So let's give it a shot. Hit refresh, and this gravatar won't work because this person doesn't exist in gravatar. So, but I always thought gravatar would return a blank if it didn't have anything. So let's see here. Let's grab this URL and copy link. No, I'm sorry. I don't mean to copy link. I mean to copy the actual thing itself. See, that's what it should have returned, and yet it didn't. I want to know why. Huh. Let's view the source here. Duh. Well, duh. That's a big fat duh. We don't have an image tag. See, this is you guys are funny for following me, because this is how I do things. I am constantly having to fix my stuff, but that's okay. So we have our image tag now. Let's go in. We have our one follower right there. Let's set our title. Actually, let's set our alt to friend.username, and set our title to friend.username. So now when we hover over it, we should see their name. There we go, and we do. So let's, as the thumbnail container, as the other container has that padding on the top, we're going to also have this padding on the top as well. So if we hit refresh, there we go. It's down here a little bit further, and let's just add a quick tag above here saying H4 followers. There we go, but now we don't want our padding again. So let's actually, now that we have this, since they're both pretty much the exact same thing, I'm going to side content container. I'm going to just rename this so that we can reuse that, because I don't see any reason to have two different ones. So let's come back to our thing here. We're going to call that side content container and that side content container. There we go. We're thinking smart and dry. Okay, so now we have that. I do also want to add a link up here. When you click on CavNab or the icon, I also want that to link over to our page. So I'm going to add a link to the username, and then I'm going to have the same path here, but instead of having it be the friend, I'm going to just have current user.username, and of course I want the image tag to also be a link. So let's come up here, and I'm just going to add that right there. We're going to have current user and image, link to, and then let's kind of clean this up a little bit to where everything is nice and tidy. There we go. So now we have our link here. We have our list of following, which we haven't set up yet, and our follow.